The following content is sponsored and does not necessarily reflect the views of WATD Radio. Now, Paul Ponders on 95.9 WATD. Be a part of the show. Call or text 781-837-4900. Now, here's your host, Paul Solano.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is not your familiar voice of Paul Solano. I am David Boyle. I am filling in for Paul. Unfortunately, Paul had a death in his family and called me and asked me if I would sit in this chair, and I am so looking forward to doing this. The show is sponsored by Northeastern Fence and Supply Corporation of Saugus. You have to love their slogan, where they have fences for your kids, dogs, and ugly neighbors. I just think that's absolutely fantastic. Again, Paul, my condolences go out to you and your family. Paul and I go back. We've known each other since elementary school. I won't tell you how old I am, but that's a pretty good answer. Paul also wears another hat. He's the general manager of the Pearl Street Station restaurant in Malden. And Paul, I think I told you my parents had their 25th wedding anniversary there. And again, I won't tell you how far ago that was. He always gives a huge shout-out to Chef Felipe Fitzpatrick and his culinary team. Chef Felipe is a loyal listener through the Odyssey app. So, Chef, thank you. I hope I do a good job. Please tell Paul that I tried my best. I do have a guest in-house with me today, my good friend Chris Perry, who was here with me a couple of weeks ago. Chris, you and I did the show.
Absolutely. Thank you again for having me, David. I appreciate it.
Well, this is a lot of fun, and I tell people what a thrill to get behind the microphone. And I've made some great friends here at ATD in the past. I love Christine James, Rob Hackala. I've had the pleasure of working with them, and they're so tied into the community. What they do at WATD is just absolutely fascinating. I do like to give a couple of shout-outs. Mike from Norwell, you know who you are. Thank you, my brother, for all you do. I told a friend of mine last night, Dan Ryan from Plymouth, that I'd give him a shout-out to him and his search dog, which is so much fun. So, Zook, you're going to be on the radio, so that's pretty good. I always thank my good friend Peter Brown from Tiny & Sons Auto Glass, who could be one of the nicest and most generous people in Pembroke. And last but not least, I'm going to give a shout-out to my executive assistant, Corey Merchant. Through her, she helps me with my job at MS Walker. I'm part owner of something called the FBS Protection Group, a private security company. My friend Chris, who's across from me, we run the Pembroke Foundation with a few other wonderful people from Pembroke. And we're also in the process of putting together a scholarship event that raises money for my wife, Karen Boyle's scholarship. So we've got our hands full, my friend.
Absolutely.
So life is good. Paul actually gave me a whole script. It's so funny to sit this and you've got to try to follow it and, play with the time and all these type of things. But again, it's just such a fun thing. And when Paul first called me, I go, I get to fill in. I get to be the radio guy. And then he unfortunately told me what happened. I'm like, someone has to die, I guess, for me to literally end up behind the mic. So, and then I said I called my friend Chris, who had probably nothing better to do than sit outside on a 50-degree day and have some fun there. So this is season 2 and show number 12 for Paul Ponders in the slot of The Boiling Point, which was actually hosted by my older brother, Arthur. Arthur is the executive consultant of Paul Ponders' radio show. And in this case, yes, Arthur is my older brother. I always say I'm the younger, better-looking one. With us behind the glass, David, good to see you, sir.
Thank you, guys. Good to be with you.
You have an absolutely amazing radio voice, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
So, and of course, I will tell all the women out there, he is 6'4" with flowing black hair, charming, built like a brick, you know what. And the thought that you're on radio, sir, it just blows my mind. You should be on TV.
Wow. Well, I don't know if I could do TV. I'm glad it's radio. Nobody can see me.
Well, that was my joke this morning. I was running a little late, and I said, well, no one's going to care if I wash my hair this morning because I'm on radio. So that's half the fun there. But, again, thanks for filling in. Tim is away at a destination wedding or something?
That's right. Yeah, he's down in the Caribbean. So, hope he's having a good time.
It's great to be important. Down in the Caribbean. We're only here with, again, just kind of a fun little topic. And Chris, how old would you have been in 78?
Oh, it's 7, 8, give or 10, somewhere in that range.
Okay, yes. I had to say I was a junior in high school, and you have people comparing these two storms. Mm-hmm. And I said to somebody, I was out of school for 3 weeks. That's how bad we get hit. And they were towing the cars off of 128. Yeah. I'm going to give a shout out to the Pembroke DPW. What a thankless job they had to do. I think they're still cleaning up.
They are, yeah.
Yeah, we delayed school, I think, 4 days. I think we got in Friday, yesterday. Mm-hmm. But I know Plymouth and a bunch of the area schools were out and we'll go back. Mm-hmm. So The young kids get a 2-week vacation. They're going to hate this the end of June when they're all complaining there's no air conditioning in their schools. Yeah. But they'll get over it and enjoy it.
About it. It's been too cold.
Life is good.
No
I do have to tell you that the clock on this side for us is reading 3:38, so I have no idea what time it is.
Yeah, I know. There's another one on your left there that might be more accurate.
Oh, there we go. That's half the fun. Yeah. Now, you get the pleasure of calling Shelley, or does Shelley call into us?
Yeah, I'm going to give her a call according to your script here.
Outstanding. We will have Miss Shelley Wolf, who we do the Pod Pro Techie Toolbox segment with Teku Tolanzo Amos and Miss Shelley Wolf, global media firm owner of the Toolbox Entertainment, vice president of technology literacy for Pod Pro, and a past Paul Ponders podcast guest. Say that real fast. I find her absolutely fascinating. She is one part of the show that I so look forward to. The things she talks about, and it's just so above my pay grade. I don't know about you. I am not a very tech-savvy person. Again, I give either. Corey the shout-out because without Corey, I can't do anything on a computer pretty much. It was funny when I started my new job with MS Walker, which is a great company to work for, by the way. My boss actually said to Corey one day, he says, "Is his computer skills really that bad?" And Corey said, "No, they're worse."
They're worse, exactly. Yes. Yeah.
So that's half the fun. We're going to talk a couple of minutes about a few books I have by local authors. You and I were just discussing both of them. I think it's going to be a fun little topic. But I said when we get Shelley on the line, we'll be good to go. And as I said, we look out and see the snow is finally melting.
Little by little, yes. Yeah. But it's funny. One of the things that I was reflecting back on 78 that I remember was like when you're walking through the street, there weren't cars. People were pulling sleds to go to the grocery store.
Yes.
Or toboggans. Like, try doing that now. It's just not there.
I actually pulled my mother to Oak Grove Station on a toboggan so her and my dad could catch a flight out of Logan. But I think, according to my man behind the glass, we have the lovely Shelley on the line. Do we not? Shelley, are you with me?
Hello.
Hi, Shelley. It's David Boyle. I'm filling in for my dear friend Paul Solano. Unfortunately, had a death in the family, and I get the pleasure of hosting you and get to learn all these fascinating things that you talk about because you could be the smartest woman I know.
Well, I'm not sure about that, but thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. My condolences to Paul, and so far you've been doing a fantastic job. So,
thank you very much.
Yes. So we're going to jump right into the tech of the week and tech tip. And so as we move into March and we begin thinking about getting a little more active and taking care of ourselves after these lovely long winter storms we've been having here is one of the things that we want to talk about, which is that people don't realize that your phone that you carry every day can actually support your health and well-being. So not in a complicated or medical way, but in a simple, everyday way that helps movement, reminders, and gives us a bit of peace of mind. So today's tech tip is about easy health tools that already are on your phone, plus a few gentle, friendly apps that help us create healthier habits, easier and to manage. So first, let's talk about gentle movement tracking. Most smartphones, as we know, already count your steps automatically. You don't need a smartwatch. There's the apps that are already built in on the Apple or the iPhone. So the Apple Health app is a really great one. The Google Fit on the Android is a really great one. They can show you how many steps you've taken per day. They measure your walking distance. They track your activity patterns. And for those who want encouragement to simply walk apps, they'll map there's an app called Map My Walk. So if you're a big walker, it's a great way to kind of just stay very active, track how much you're walking. They say 20,000 steps or 10,000 steps really are the best to do every day. So 10,000 gets really that heart a-pumping. There's also an app called Pace Pedometer. That's also a great, they offer large text. They have easy displays, get gentle goal sets. So it's really easy to use. We sometimes need that reminder that a goal is not a competition. It's about awareness and consistency. So now let's think about another great thing that we can use our phones for, which is all those medications and appointment reminders that we might need. One of the most useful health techs is remembering medications and appointments that phones can already set alarms to your internal calendars. You just want to make sure to set up different notifications. But there are also dedicated apps. There's some senior-friendly models. Options include MediSafe, which is great for medication reminders and clearing alerts. There's the Care Zone, which tracks meds, doses, and schedules. And then there's also the Apple Health Medication feature, which is actually on the iPhone. These apps help reduce missed doses, confusion when you might be dealing with multiple prescriptions. Now, all that may sound very stressful, so we want to talk a little bit about calmness, stress, and sleep. Good health includes rest and relaxation, and then there's gentle apps that can help us with that. There's the Calm app, which I love. I think it's a great one. But there's also Insight Timer and Headspace, which is another great one. They offer short breathing exercises, relaxing sounds, guided sleep support, and anxiety reduction. And in a few minutes, you can help lower your stress level and support your sleep. But before we jump any further, we're going to jump into that tech myth of the week, which the question is, health apps are only for younger, tech-savvy people. That's actually false. The truth is that many health apps today are actually specifically designed for older adults with larger text, simple buttons, and easy navigation. You don't need technical skills. You are just curious. Take a few minutes to explore. Our phones are great for capturing also emergency information and medical features. One of the most important health tools that you might need right now on your phone is every phone has is it's called either medical ID or emergency info, which allows you to store your emergency contacts, medical conditions, your allergies, medications. And the great part about these apps is that the first responders can access these with your phone screen being locked if they needed to. This feature exists, again, both on the iPhone and Android, and only takes a few minutes to set up. So a quick important tool to think about when using this is, here's our quick checklist for the week, which is check the step tracker, try out a walking app, set a medication reminder, explore a calming or sleeping app, and from there, one of the things you want to think about is how we are going to use that and how beneficial it might be. So with that, I ask you to take the challenge of choose one app feature for your health this week, explore it on your phone, set it up, and remember that technology is not here to replace your care, but it's here to quietly support you in a healthy day living. Today's tech tip for your phone is you can do more than just connect with others. It's here to help you care for yourself. So again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening to us. And until next week, we will be checking out more tech tips and answering questions you've been sending us. So thank you very much.
Shelley, let me ask you a question because it came up and I was kind of involved in this myself. A company I used to work for owned my phone. And again, it's a bit of a legal question. I hope it's not kind of outside your realm. Someone said you may not want to put your health information on your phone, as your company would then have your health information if you were diabetic, if you were whatever. And I guess the question would be, are they allowed to access your phone if they own it? If that makes sense?
That is true, yes. So if a company owns the phone and they are giving that to you to work, they can access any of the information on it, just like your laptop or computer. Any information that you're using on a work device has the right of the company to basically monitor, look at, access anything. So unfortunately, it requires us to carry two phones or be comfortable enough with the fact that our employer might have access to this information. It is very unfortunate, but yes, that is true. The company is the one who is the owner of the information on any device that you have you may be using.
All right, so let me take the question one more. And thank you for that, by the way. That makes sense. So let's say you're me. I'm a diabetic. I've been diabetic for probably 25 years. Do you think it would make sense for me to put my medical information on my phone? Because now all of a sudden I'm a 64-year-old guy, and I'm thinking someone on my thing might say, oh, my gosh, this guy's on 7 medications. He, this, that. Are we kind of employing a guy that could be a health risk, I guess is kind of the question. And I hope that's not an out of line or an off the cuff type thing to answer.
No, I think it's a great question, right? It plays a lot in, it could become a discriminatory practice, right? So, again, it's how much do you trust that employer and how much is that employer going to not use information against you? It is a fine line. It is a very fine line, right? You want to make sure that you're healthy and you're staying well. But if you're only relying on that one company phone that is provided to you, you are taking a risk, unfortunately, yes.
That's interesting. You know, it's funny, and a friend of mine gave me a quote as I switched jobs about 6 months ago now, about 3 months ago now, and he said, HR works for the company. They don't work for the staff member. And I thought that was an interesting way to look at that. I said, yeah, they're there to protect the company interests. They're not there to protect my interests. I don't want to say they don't care about me, but that I find that kind of fascinating. So,
yeah.
Again, you are absolutely an amazing person to talk to listen to. How do our people get in touch with you?
Absolutely. I can be reached at info@podproentertainment.com.
Unbelievable. And where were you? I think the last time I spoke with you, you were in San Francisco, maybe, at a conference. Chris and I were here, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, yep. I was out there in Sacramento and San Francisco area. I'm back in Cambridge today, and I got back right in time to wake up the next morning and go shovel feet of snow.
Have you been able to find your car yet, I guess, is my big question.
Well, the good part is I don't have a car, but I'm nervous for all the people out on the street who do have a car because they're still buried under snow.
And in Cambridge, like Southie in the South End, there's nowhere to put it.
Nowhere to put it, no. And, I think about getting a car from time to time, and when that happened, I was like, yeah, I probably just do not need a car.
That is absolutely amazing. Well, again, thank you so much for calling in. I said thank you for making me look smarter than I am, and I truly appreciate it. My dear friend Paul will be back next week.
Great. Well, continue doing a fantastic job and filling in, and it's great to have you on the radio, and thank you for all that you guys do in Pembroke. I mean, you guys are doing some amazing work with nonprofits and supporting and raising funds for scholarships, so anything that we can do to support, let us know.
You are the best. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful weekend and stay warm, and the snow is melting, so let's have some fun.
Let's have some fun.
Look forward to talking to you next week. Take care.
Yeah. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
She's just an amazing woman. I could listen. She could have her own show. We could really just plug her in, and we could sit off to the side. So we've got a few minutes to talk. And what I did is, Chris and I mentioned this on the way in. I have 2 books from what I call local authors. And I'm going to talk to Paul about maybe getting them on the air, which I think would be fun. So one of them is a book, which I think is hysterical. It's called Didn't Get Much Sleep Last Night by a young man named Jack Curley. Jack's father, John, is a good friend of mine, helped me when I first got into the liquor business. I always like to say he helped make Dave Boyle. He invested in me. John, I hate to say how long ago that would have been, but about 35 or 40 years ago. And I'd like to see if maybe found something about me. But Jack writes a book, and it's a do-it-yourself filmmaking tour. I just started reading it. I read some of the stuff. He was touched by a punk rock song that he'd heard, and he decided to take this life, and he's traveled all over the place and promoted film. So I'm going to talk to Paul. I think he's living down in Pennsylvania now. His dad still lives in Plymouth. But I think he'd be a fascinating guest to get on. So if you get a chance, didn't get much sleep last night. My life as a touring DIY film roadshow. Jack, and he spells it J-A-K, Curley. It says of Shibby Pictures, which I don't know what Shibby Pictures is, but I think that's an amazing little thing to do. The other book I want to touch on, and this is amazing, if people follow Varsity Blues. Yep. Again, Chris, you and I spoke about this, and you were saying the movie, which is
correct.
I thought the same thing. So what happened, Laurie, I think her name was Laughlin from Full House, got hooked up in this. Felicity Huffman got hooked up, and these people did jail time for this. My dear friend John Wilson fought back, and he won. He was the only person federally indicted to win. Wow. They're still chasing him on one tax charge, and they're basically going to lose because if you follow the case. If you want to read a book, he is a local guy, grew up in Connecticut, lives down the Cape. His wife, Leslie, Karen, myself, and John and Leslie's brother and sister-in-law, Sam, and the late Allison Gersten, we spent so much time together. We've had dinner together. And I remember John telling me this. I said, you're going to write a book? You're going to mess with the feds? And I think you gave me the statistic, Chris. Yeah. And he won. It's an absolutely, I haven't finished it yet, but as I said to a friend of mine, I am so proud to call this guy a friend.
Wow.
What he did for his family, and again, he's a hardworking guy. He's an amazing guy. Could be one of the smartest people I ever met. But if you get a chance, it says The Varsity Blues, The Scandal Within the Scandal. And if you hear what this guy went through, mind-boggling. So I don't know if you're a reader, Chris. I like to read vacations, airplanes, stuff like that. I'm tactile. I can't do Kindles and all those types of things.
Right.
But both of these books I would recommend. And I tell people, I've done some speaking in the past, and I always tell people one of my favorite books of all time was Everything I Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten by Robert Fulghum. And it's basically, rules that someone should have taught you when you're about 5.
Yep.
And if you still adhere to those rules and try to do something nice and all that fun kind of stuff, it's a pretty smart way to go. How am I doing here, Dave? Am I time-wise, am I okay?
Yeah, I think we're doing okay. We got a couple of minutes, and we'll take a break here.
Oh, fantastic. So we're still doing well. So, Chris, what's on your mind? I know you and I have a couple of topics we want to discuss, maybe lead into the break, a little tease, and, we'll go from there. But you would discuss a couple of topics when we first sat down.
Well, I mean, there's a whole bunch of things going on in Pembroke, just as a community, as an overall. I wasn't sure if you wanted to, talk about Karen's event that's coming up at this point in time, or you wanted to hold off till later, or talk about what all the new hot topics, so to speak, that's happening in Pembroke, like with the new water, the battery park, the new the Pembroke Journal that Kathleen Keegan is the newspaper that the online newspaper that she's creating. Go ahead and pick.
Yeah, no, I think, again, it's a great tease. I think I would say let's hold the water tower and the journal piece in the battery park till after the break. Again, Chris and I have known each other for quite a while. He's become one of my dearest friends. He and I do a lot of charity things together, which is, you've heard us mention before. We do the Pembroke Foundation. Chris is kind of the heart and soul behind that.
Thank you.
Our tagline, Pembroke helping Pembroke.
Yes.
And that's what we do. We give money back. And I think the last time I was here, I kind of fought back because people said, oh, you're just a political guy who's, trying to get your name out there.
So wrong. So wrong.
Well, I said to somebody, I've already been elected 3 terms. Yes, I'm up for a 4th, but we did this well before this. You're sitting on boards around town. You're also going to run for political office.
Correct.
It's no secret. One of our members, John Brown, is a current selectman. I don't sound arrogant. We're already established. We're not using this to climb a ladder.
No.
But some people, I think we do.
Yep.
And then on April 2nd, we're going to do an event to raise money for my wife's scholarship. We gave out, I think, about $8,000 in scholarships last year.
Amazing.
To I call them Pembroke kids. One went to a Silver Lake young man who was from Pembroke. Again, it's Pembroke helping Pembroke, just under a different name.
Yep.
But that's going to be our good friend Peter Brown.
Correct.
Is letting us use his building, and that's going to be April 2nd from 6 to 8. $10 at the door. It'll be a beer and wine tasting. Again, my side profession or real profession is I'm in the wine and spirits business. I'm a pretty knowledgeable wine guy.
Yes, you are.
So I get to have some fun. But hey, I think we're up against a break. Let's do this. As my brother used to say, it's not time to make the donuts. It's time to pay the bills. Let's hear from our sponsors. So, Dave, I'll throw it over to you, sir.
Are you looking for fencing and outdoor products? Look no further than Northeastern Fence and Supply Corporation of Saugus. When owner Mike Payne's customers have been asked why they chose Northeastern Fence, many said that there were 3 deciding factors: customer respect, excellent customer service, and quality products. I say that you need to add in 70-plus years of a family-run business with truly experienced sales and installation teams. So if you are in the market for fences for your kids, dogs, and ugly neighbors, please call Mike Payne and his crew at 781-233-3324 or email mike@northeasternfence.com.
Have you tried Bryanttville Pizza Kitchen? From antipasto to baked ziti, specialty gourmet burgers, over 30 different kinds of pizza, and that's steak and cheese. Come on in and they'll show you why they made a reputation as being the best steak and cheese sub in the area. There's nobody that puts it together like your friends at the Bryanttville Pizza Kitchen. Chicken wings and fingers and the famous flavors complement their stir-fry dinners. If subs and wraps aren't enough for your table tonight, expand into Greek and Caesar salads, maybe even a calzone. Anyway, it's all good at the Bryanttville Pizza Kitchen. And don't forget, invite them to your next catered event. They'll bring the food. Bryanttville Pizza Kitchen. Call them at 781-293-9857.
Paul Ponders continues on 95.9 WATD. Once again, Paul Solano.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Thanks for listening to Paul Ponders on WATD 95.9. This is actually Dave Boyle. I am sitting in for my good friend Paul. Unfortunately, Paul had a death in his family and reached out to me and asked me if I could sit in. So it's a thrill for me to be here. I think I'm sitting in Rob Hackler's chair. I'm not sure if it's Christine James's chair, but I'm in Rob Hackler's chair. So I do feel important. We're presented by Northeast Fence and Supply Corporation of Saugus, where they have fences for your kids, dogs, and ugly neighbors. I just think that's a priceless line. Please feel free, call in, text, number 781-837-4900. You can find us on the Odyssey app. We usually do a thing here where if you want to reach Paul, it's paul@paulponders.com. Listeners can go to paulponders.com to find subscription links to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, as well as finding past Paul Ponders on WATD shows. This past Sunday night, Paul dropped an episode with Duncan Gray of Eldred's Antique Hour. And he's a fascinating guy. Chris, you and I met him when you did the show down in Plymouth.
Oh, nice.
He was the gentleman kind of standing behind us when we were getting ready to go on the air.
Yes, yes.
That gentleman seems to know something about everything. I do not want to play Trivial Pursuit with him.
Definitely not.
I don't want to play Singo, Bingo, anything with that gentleman. I said we'll get our tail handed to us.
We should have had him at Trivia Night at the last Foundation.
We should have. That would have been a great, well, he probably would have won going away. So that's half the fun. So usually at this point of the program, we usually have a segment called Health and Wellness Survival Tips with Ms. Sharon Filiar. Sharon is away this week with her family in North Carolina, so she gets to have fun. So I hope you're enjoying the wonderful weather down in the Carolinas. My friends keep sending me pictures from Hilton Head where they've all retired to, and I'm still working. So we kind of teased a couple of topics we wanted to talk about. I think we maybe start with Kathleen Keegan and her journal.
Sure.
Jump into a couple of things and
absolutely,
we'll take it from there.
So one of the things that I find, being a Pembroke resident for over 30 years, things have grown and changed with technology and what's going on with social media, and I just find it crazy as to for Facebook, using that as an example, how many Pembroke pages there are, whether it's Pembroke Connect Uncensored, whether it's this Pembroke Happenings, Pembroke Engaged, whatever. Wow. Why do we need so many? Because they're all opinion based. So what ends up happening is I kind of look at this and say, all right, someone personally goes ahead and makes a post. They have their opinion. It's whether you're left, right, it doesn't matter, but your opinion about that subject is going to go ahead and start the chain. And then someone else is going to add their 2 cents, and then they add their 2 cents. And it's kind of like the old game when you're in elementary school, telephone. The original conversation starts here, but by the end, it's something completely different. And if you're coming in at the end, you don't know what the original story was.
Right.
So this is one of the things that I find absolutely great about the Pembroke Journal, in the sense of it will be black and white, factually based, and as their tagline is community focused, community forward. And their actual inaugurational issue will be March 13th, barring anything that unforeseen, but we're really looking forward. It's going to be out every Friday, I believe, is the correct information. Okay. So there'll be a new release as to what's happening. And it will be a place that people can go for information regarding Pembroke. Hypothetically, information regarding what happened at the select board meeting, or what happened on the Pembroke Titan lacrosse team. When is their next game? How did they play against Hanover? That information. But it's all done with the no spin. This is it. Black, white. Here's the information. You formulate your own opinion. Unlike what Facebook is doing, you're going to go ahead and start seeing people's opinions and things like that influencing where the information is going.
Well, again, one of the things that I find kind of fascinating, and I'm not a social media person by any stretch of the imagination. I don't want to be
either. Yeah.
But one of the things I do find amazing, and I always use the line when I go to Stop and Shop, my frozen food melts because everybody wants to talk to me, and I love the fact that they say, I saw the facts, and I say to somebody, from where?
From where? Right.
Where did you get that number? And most of the things when I get screenshots from people, they'll 4 or 5 bullet points, and I'm like, again, from where?
Right.
Is that just somebody else's screenshot getting pulled over. Where did these facts come from?
Exactly.
And I'm not saying that, the IRS is right all the time or the FDA is right all the time, but at least if you quote and say this came from the medical journal or the
Right.
Wall Street Journal, I say, okay, there's, I don't say it's a credible source or whatever, there's something there.
Right.
How much stuff is made up? And I don't know if I'm probably going down a slippery slope here. I get it every now and then because, I'm on the school committee. I'm the chairman of the school committee. I've got members that have personal pages and they've got stuff and they'll put some things out there. And people just assume because they're on the school committee or if they're on the board of selectmen that this all of a sudden now is, the opinion or the fact or the way it's going to happen in Pembroke. Again, everyone's entitled to their opinion. I'm so excited it's going to be. Now, is this a podcast or is it going to be a
No,
a
it's
print?
an online, just like very similar to Facebook. You'll go to a site and this will have the information for it as an online newspaper.
Subscription based or selling ads or I don't.
I believe, as of right now, the information that I have is it is free to start out with. Obviously, in order to keep the editors, the writers, the journalists, and to keep the staffing going, there will be fundraising and things like that in order to keep the ball rolling. But at least to go ahead and start, it's like, hey, let's get this information out there and let's get our followers happening. And then hopefully then, you might get into the opportunity of advertising or very similar to Facebook where you go ahead and do boost a post. That costs you money to go ahead and do that post boost. But again, I don't have the privilege of knowing that information.
Yep.
That's something you would definitely would want to speak to directly with the Pembroke Journal staff to go ahead and do that. I don't want to misquote anything.
All right, and Kathleen is leading that.
Correct. She
Kathleen
is
Keegan,
the
Real
spearhead.
Estate.
Yep.
Her husband Sean happens to be a member of the Board of Selectmen. Two wonderful citizens
Absolutely.
of Pembroke. They I'm trying to think what the event is in the fall when they do the fireworks. There's a name for it, but I'm drawing a blank on the name. Sorry, but they spearhead that event again with a group of volunteers and people. And one of the topics, Chris, I was going to talk about is how when we do things like the Pembroke Foundation, thank heavens people come out of the woodwork for us. You know what I mean? Whether it's the Curleys or the Wandells or Peg Strusick, Pat Marsters, people just come out of the woodwork.
Yes.
They want to help.
Yep.
But there's a lot of other people that say, "Oh, yeah, I want to help. I'd love to be there," and then they don't come to a meeting. They don't. So it makes it interesting.
Yeah, and again, I understand and respect. People have lives. Things happen. Things come up. I get that. But one of the things, it's common knowledge. I am running for a select board, and when I went around to get my signatures, it was talking with the residents of the town. And I specifically remember talking to two families, and one had come to the town about 5 years ago, one about 7 years ago. And I said, and if you look at our town, there's not a lot of changeover in our town. It hasn't really grown. And when a home sells, when a house goes on the market, it sells right away.
Yes.
Because people want to come to this community. So I asked those newer residents, because you look at our town and most of the people are 10, 15, 20, 30 lifetime members of Pembroke. There is, like I said earlier, there is not a lot of changeover. But I said to them, what made you come to this town? And it just came down to, it's community based.
Yeah.
There are things in this town, and it's so true. The tree lighting ceremony, the Memorial Day parade, that was the first time that we have done that. It was so successful. People came out of the woodwork. When we talked about our very first event with the Pembroke Foundation with Veterans Memorial Park, and we are making great progress with that. People come out of the woodwork. Everybody loves the veterans. Why would they not? I mean, Pembroke is, before our country was a country, we had veterans. We had people fighting for what was right. And that still, those values are still in Pembroke as a whole. And that's why I'm proud to be part of this community. And that's why I'm really looking forward to representing our community.
Well, I think, too, if you look around, you go down the main streets there, 14 and 36, they now have the flags up of people that have served. I just think that's amazing. I think it's a great tribute. Again, I mentioned on the air, again, a couple of weeks ago when my lovely wife passed away, woman had said to me that Pembroke was going to lift you up, and I was like, how the heck are they going to do that? And again, you're so in self-pity and, whatever. and they put 350 Carolina blue ribbons all over town.
I remember
you couldn't
that.
go down Route 27. You couldn't go down 14, 36, 53. And he said, holy heavens. And again, that's that sense of community. We trace our, I grew up here every summer of my life. My family's been here, I want to say, since the 40s. If I had it right after World War II. I moved down here, again, like you, full-time 30 years ago. And I still laugh. I literally, again, funny story that ties into the current topic, or the current state of affairs. I moved down here January 1 of 1996, and 4 days later I was hired to work 2 stadiums at the Olympic Games in Atlanta. So I left my lovely girlfriend here at the time with my mother, who happened to be a Marine in World War II. So that was just a powder keg waiting to happen. But I said the whole Olympic trend, and by the way, good shout out to our wonderful teams and all the people that won golds and silvers.
Absolutely.
And bronze. And
Pembroke residents, too.
Yes, and it's also good. I just congratulations on all those people that competed. What a thing to be able to say that you actually
were in the Olympics.
Yeah, I told you I was in the Olympics, but no, I was actually there doing. We call it venue management. It's a nice way of saying security.
Security.
So but it was a lot of fun. Again, past life, I wouldn't trade those moments for anything.
No, absolutely not.
They're absolutely a blast. Now, we had a couple of topics we would touch on. You had mentioned the water tower. You had mentioned the battery park. I know we've got probably a couple minutes before the break. Why don't we touch on that real quick, and then we'll come back to it after the break.
Yeah, no, so if you follow the town, watching with the select board and things like that, the town manager had talked about at the last meeting was that the infrastructure with our water is actually coming online, and it's coming together as planned. We had a water system master plan done up, and we're adhering to that, and it's working. One of the big things that, if you are a resident of the town, people talk about their water. It's either really good in certain areas of town, and in other areas of town, people are not necessarily happy with it because sometimes it has a brownish appearance to it. Now, again, it's not unhealthy for you, but it's just not eye-appealing. So again, and one of the other things as well is if you do have brown water, please let someone else know. Let the DPW know, because if there is something that is happening within the older piping systems, and that's going to be changed. And it's really great that we're actually moving forward with the new wells, and they're going to be actually going ahead and doing the water tank rehabilitation and replacement. One of the things that people talk about is, my water pressure isn't so great in town. Well, that's going to be changed because we're actually going to be having a new hydraulic grade line in one of the new towers. So hopefully, theoretically, you will have better water pressure for your town.
All right, let me jump. We have to go to a commercial real quick to our friends at Northeastern Fence and Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. Dave, we'll throw it over to you in the booth. You're doing a wonderful job there, sir. Thank you. You're making me look good.
Have you tried Bryantville Pizza Kitchen? From antipasto to baked ziti, specialty gourmet burgers, over 30 different kinds of pizza, and that's steak and cheese. Come on in and they'll show you why they made a reputation as being the best steak and cheese sub in the area. There's nobody that puts it together like your friends at the Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. Chicken wings and fingers and the famous flavors complement their stir-fry dinners. If subs and wraps aren't enough for your table tonight, expand into Greek and Caesar salads, maybe even a calzone. Anyway, it's all good at the Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. And don't forget, invite them to your next catered event. They'll bring the food. Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. Call them at 781-293-9857.
Are you looking for fencing and outdoor products? Look no further than Northeastern Fence and Supply Corporation of Saugus. When owner Mike Payne's customers have been asked why they chose Northeastern Fence, many said that there were 3 deciding factors: customer respect, excellent customer service, and quality products. I say that you need to add in 70-plus years of a family-run business with truly experienced sales and installation teams. So if you are in the market for fences for your kids, dogs, and ugly neighbors, please call Mike Payne and his crew at 781-233-3324 or email mike@northeasternfence.com.
Paul Ponders continues on 95.9 WATD. Once again, Paul Solano.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. Thank you for listening to Paul Ponders on WATD. I am Dave Boyle. I am filling in for my dear friend Paul, who unfortunately had a death in his family. I'm sitting with my good friend Chris Perry. We're talking about some issues that are hitting Pembroke, some current event type of things. Feel free to call in at 781-837-4900. We would love to hear from you. At this point of the program, we usually have the financial wing of Olympic Proportions segment sponsored by PS and All Marketing Group and Riverworks Credit Union. And NMLS number 410564. I guess that's a disclaimer, Chris, I have to put out there. With Mr. Paul Crowley of RWCU and Olympian and former Boston Bruins winger Dave Jensen, senior loan officer. They were both unavailable today, but again, we did have a little trip down memory lane. Dave Jensen and I knew a bunch of the same people. I would say I have a brother, Michael, who's the famous conditioning coach, and I'm the other one. And of course, my other brother is the producer of the show. Heaven love him. So we were going to jump back in. Chris and I were talking about a couple issues concerning Pembroke. And again, not taking a stand on any of this. It's more of an informative. And Chris is kind of my go-to guy for this stuff, so I'm going to throw it back to you, buddy.
Well, thanks, David. I really appreciate that. Where I kind of left off was talking about the water towers and things like that with Pembroke. It's really great that Pembroke is going ahead and doing so much that they're doing for rectifying a problem that the town has recognized and said, hey, we need to address this. The time has come. We can't keep kicking the can down the road.
Yep.
You just can't. It's really great. And again, there's a little bit of controversy regarding the town manager. I understand that it's not left, it's not right, it is what it is. But the bottom line at the end of the day is we're addressing issues, we're fixing issues. So this is Pembroke moving forward,
right,
which is a great thing.
Well, you made the comment, and it's very true. People don't want to talk about adult districts or cannabis districts or anything. Again, we used to call it NIMBY when I grew up, not in my backyard.
Yep, absolutely.
Well,
I remember that phrase.
We used to say to people, hey, someone's going to have a trash recycling place by them. Someone is going to end up with a prison built by them. Someone's going to have a school in their backyard. They have to go somewhere, people. Cell towers. Fill in the blanks, right. all these projects. And again, I'm not saying right, wrong, and different, and are there better places for them? Yes, but we made the comment earlier about the 40B. Once it gets to the state and they come in and sit and say, this is what you have to do. Right. And you can tie them up and you can fight and the whole thing, but at the end of the day, you're not going to win.
No, exactly.
Again, you get into the whole controversies and you can talk blue states, red states, and all this type of stuff. There's just certain things that get passed. It's we can fight it. You can get lawyers. You can do whatever you want. If they want to put a 40B somewhere, I'd rather have a say in where it goes and how it goes than someone jamming it down my throat.
Exactly. And this is one of the things that, again, it's working together with people collaboratively. So using the example of, I remember just going back on Facebook again with the 15 various Facebook pages that Pembroke has, Shepherd's Funeral Home. It was a old building. So, it should fall under historic. Well, it doesn't. It's not part of that district. It's part of its own. It's off of Matakeesit. The historical district doesn't go that deep into Matakeesit Street. So, again, that's misinformation out on Facebook stating, oh, no, the Historical District Commission has say over that. No, they don't. What ended up happening with this whole thing is it is a 40B project. And originally everyone was saying, oh, we want the seniors in there, which that's great. We have amazing senior programs in our town. We do take care of our seniors. But at the same time, we need families. We need children. You're on the school commission. What about the kids, the future of the school programs? You need elementary kids because, as we discussed earlier, once you come to Pembroke, you don't really want to leave. It's that good of a community. So those kids start out at elementary, go to junior, and then off to the high school. They stay in the system for 12 years. That's a good thing for the town. We can get into the numbers about state funding and things like that in regards to each individual student, but the bottom line at the end of the day, people were upset that they said